I never thought my Tuesday would end up being the day that changed everything. It started like any other day. I was heading to the gym with my friend Mike, getting ready for our usual workout session. That's when I got a text from my girlfriend asking if she could use my apartment to catch up with an old friend who was in town. She explained they needed a quiet place to talk, and since she shared her place with roommates, my apartment would be perfect. Being the trusting boyfriend I was, I agreed without thinking twice. I told her I'd grab dinner with Mike after our workout to give them space to catch up. Looking back, I should have asked more questions, but I was in the middle of my gym session and didn't think much of it. Around half an hour after our conversation, she texted saying they were at the apartment. I just replied with a quick okay and continued my workout with Mike. We finished around 7 p.m. and decided to grab dinner at Whole Foods. Their hot food bar is actually pretty great. By the time we finished eating, it was about 8:30, and I was exhausted. All I wanted was to head home and crash. I got back to my place around 9 p.m., not even sure if her friend would still be there. Part of me hoped they weren't. I really wasn't in the mood to socialize. As soon as I walked in, I noticed a pair of massive Timberland boots by the door. My first thought was that her friend must have brought their boyfriend along. Great, I thought. Now, I'll have to stay up and be social. As I walked down the hallway and into the living room, I saw my girlfriend sitting on the couch with a guy. They were at opposite ends but looking right at each other, deep in conversation. She jumped a little when she saw me, something that didn't strike me as odd then, but now makes perfect sense. I was still completely clueless at this point. I looked around for her friend, thinking maybe they were in the bathroom or something. I walked over to the guy, extended my hand, and introduced myself as her boyfriend. His response changed everything. With this cocky smirk, he said, "I'm Alex, her ex." The room went silent. It took me a moment to process what I just heard. My girlfriend had been alone in my apartment for hours with her ex-boyfriend, after telling me she was meeting an old friend. I looked at her and said, "So this is your old friend?" She responded with this weak, "Yeah," that made my stomach turn. I was trying hard not to jump to conclusions, but I was tired, upset, and now dealing with the fact that my girlfriend had basically lied to me. The conversation they'd been having moments ago completely died, and you could cut the tension with a knife. She tried to ask about my day, but I could barely focus on responding. It felt like I was interrupting something, and that feeling was making me more uncomfortable by the second. After what felt like forever, but was probably just a minute, I'd had enough. I looked at Alex and said, "Hey, mind wrapping this up? I need to talk to her about something." His response made my blood boil. She invited me over, though, and we're still reminiscing about the good old days. Then he looked at her and asked, "Do you want me to leave?" That's when I lost it. "What do you mean, do you want me to leave? I don't care what she wants. This is my apartment, and I'm telling you to get out." I surprised myself with how angry I sounded, but I couldn't help it. My girlfriend started telling me to calm down, and then turned to Alex, saying he should leave. He got up and headed to get his stuff, with me following right behind him to make sure he actually left. After he was gone, I walked back to find my girlfriend furious with me, saying I'd embarrassed her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She embarrassed? I told her straight up, "No, you said a friend was coming over. Not once did you mention this friend was male, much less your ex." She tried defending herself, saying my reaction was completely unnecessary, since she'd told me someone was coming over and had asked permission. Then she dropped this bomb about how Alex was going through rough times and needed someone to lean on, and that she was just trying to be there for him. According to her, meeting at my apartment was proof nothing shady was going on. I called her out on that logic real quick. If my ex was having issues and I was the one comforting her, you'd be livid. She claimed she'd understand because she has empathy. That's when I reminded her how just last week she got mad at me at the gym because I smiled when a girl complimented my form while lifting. She stormed out after that. I didn't chase after her or try to stop her. I just sat on my couch, trying to process what had just happened. That's when I decided to call my dad. He's always been my voice of reason. 2 hours later, I got these texts from her. Can we talk? I'm sorry for not telling you it was my ex I was inviting over. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Nothing happened. Nothing is going to happen. I love you. He messaged me out of the blue. He needed someone to talk to. I didn't think that much of it. I'm sorry for deceiving you. The more I read those messages, the more they bothered me. I didn't think that much of it, followed by, sorry for deceiving you. Like, obviously she did think about it, or she would have been honest from the start. And her excuse about wanting to meet at my place to prove nothing was going on? That made zero sense. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing that scene play out, especially the part where he asked her if she wanted him to leave. It hit me hard that in that moment, when I was clearly upset about finding my girlfriend alone with her ex in my apartment, she didn't take my side once. Even when I was being polite before I knew who he was, it felt like I was the outsider in my own home. The whole situation just felt wrong. It wasn't about some old-fashioned idea that women have to respect men. It was about basic respect in a relationship. If the roles were reversed, and I had my ex over at her place, I would have backed my girlfriend up completely if she got upset. I would have called out my ex for being disrespectful to her. I was so worked up that I couldn't even think about responding to her messages. Around 3 a.m., I was still wide awake, my mind racing with thoughts about everything that had happened. That's when I realized something important. It wasn't just about her inviting her ex over or lying about who he was. It was about trust and how quickly it can break. The next morning was rough. I hadn't slept much, and my phone was blowing up with messages from her. Apologies, explanations, begging for forgiveness. I couldn't deal with it. I needed to clear my head, so I headed down to my apartment's gym. Running always helps me think straight. Around 1 p.m. my phone rang. It was her. After 2.5 years together, I felt like I had to at least answer. As soon as I picked up, I heard her crying. I'm sorry, I love you to death, please just talk to me, she sobbed. I shouldn't have left last night, I panicked, you know I love you. I stayed silent for a moment. What hit me hardest wasn't her crying or her words, it was how I felt, or rather, what I didn't feel. Where there should have been pain, anger, or even sadness, there was just nothing. Just emptiness. Come over at 3, I said finally. When she showed up, she was already crying and trying to smile at the same time. Seeing her like this would have torn me apart just 24 hours ago. But now, that emptiness was still there, and I knew what I had to do. It's over between us, I said. She looked like I'd just slapped her. What? No, please. I'm sorry. Don't end this between us. I love you to death, she pleaded. That's when my emotions finally broke through. Lily, I'm sorry, but I can't take this anymore. I don't know what impression I gave you over our relationship, but I won't stay with someone who thinks so little of me. You made the decision to end this when you invited your ex into my apartment behind my back. The words just kept flowing out. No guy acts that cocky for no reason. You must have given him some kind of signal to make him feel that confident. You even took his side in front of me. Why would I stay with someone who won't have my back? She was crying uncontrollably now. I'm sorry. I love you. I won't ever talk to him again, I promise. Please just give me one more chance. I sat there in silence, remembering something I'd heard once. Loyalty means more than love. You can love someone and still stab them in the back, but loyalty? That's about actions, not words. And her actions last night had spoken louder than any of her tears or promises today. Please, I said quietly, it's over. There's no saving this. She tried to argue, but I cut her off. Please just do us both a favor and take your things and leave. Let's just end it here. We spent the next hour in near silence, packing up her stuff from around my apartment. I even helped her fill a garbage bag with her things. Before she left, she placed her keys to my apartment on the table. Just like that, 2.5 years ended. Now I'm sitting here, trying to process everything that happened in the last 24 hours. It doesn't feel real yet. Part of me still loves her. Probably always will. But I know I made the right choice. You can't have a relationship without trust or loyalty, and I lost both in one night. The hardest part isn't the breakup itself. It's realizing how quickly something you thought was solid can crumble. One decision, one lie, one moment of disrespect, that's all it takes. but I guess that's how you know what really matters to you. For me, it turns out respect and loyalty aren't negotiable. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that show us who we really are.